Hey, welcome back to Charlie Brown Politics. I'm Charles Brown, the host of the show. I'm wanting to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's going on, the big news of the weekend. Now, the news is trying to push out there and have people believe that the Palestinians unprovokingly attacked the Israelis. But here at Charlie Brown Politics, we are refuting this narrative. We do not accept or agree with it. But do not take my word for it. Go watch Kim Iverson. She actually went to Gaza, went to the West Bank, and saw everything herself, and has a beautiful video that she put out on it. Go read Max Blumenthal and his book, David versus Goliath, where he actually went to Israel and Gaza and the West Bank and saw what was happening in his own eyes. With that being said, a lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are putting tweets out about this. People like RFK Jr., Cornel West, and Bernie Sanders. So we're going to get into all of that and more. But first, let's watch a video that's going to explain a little bit on what the mainstream narrative is pushing out.
Quickly, but here's what we know right now. The Palestinian militant group Hamas has launched a massive, unprecedented military operation from the air. They say they fired more than 5,000 rockets and long-range missiles.
And you see how they started out with a unprecedented attack. Okay, this is the same thing as unprovoked. Now, I'm going to point out later in the video how they will contradict themselves in their own news statement. So I'll tell you when to pay attention.
Some of them slamming into cities in southern Israel, and you can see thick black plumes of smoke in the air. Residents trying to take shelter wherever they can. Now, from the ground, images showing dozens of heavily armed Palestinians on motorbikes and also in pickup trucks infiltrating Israeli settlements near the border, also cutting through the border fence and shooting at passers-by, killing at least 22 Israelis and injuring hundreds of others. We have been hearing disturbing reports that Hamas has taken at least 35 Israelis, including soldiers, and holding them hostage. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telling the country that we are at war and we will win. Hamas's spokesperson calling on all Palestinians to take up arms and fight. Janae.
And Lama, you have been covering this region extensively. I know you said.
All right, so this is where they're going to contradict themselves, so pay attention.
At the top of the hour that this was likely extensively planned and could be seen as a security failure by Israel. How are people reacting there right now?
Yeah, you know, Janae, people are shocked that Hamas militants who come from one of the poorest areas in the Palestinian territories from Gaza, which has been under siege for decades, that they have been able.
All right, she just said that Hamas comes from Gaza, one of the poorest areas in the region, and they've been under siege for decades. Now, if a place has been under siege for decades, how can this attack be unprovoked? First red flag. But we'll continue this video.
To carry out this sort of military operation. They are shocked by its scale and also the speed at which they have infiltrated the border, going into Israeli towns. And from talking to people on the ground, Palestinians are celebrating. They feel that they are emboldened, that they've been able to attack Israel, and they feel that there is a shift here, that this is the beginning of change. They say that this is a direct result of the attacks, of the way that Palestinians have been treated, of what they describe as Israeli aggression. So after years and years of anger, that anger, they say, has now exploded. So the violence will.
All right. So that's what the news is trying to put out there. These unprovoked attacks, but in their own news clip, they couldn't help their own hypocrisy. Okay, like I said, don't take my word for it. Go watch Kim Iverson's take on it. Go read Max Blumenthal. A lot of people now have been tweeting about this conflict. People, like I said before, RFK Jr., Cornel, and Bernie. So let's read their tweets and react. This is from Bobby. This ignominious, unprovoked, and barbaric attack on Israel must be met with world condemnation and unequivocal support for the Jewish state's right to self-defense. We must provide Israel with whatever it needs to defend itself. Now, as president, I'll make sure that our policy is unambiguous so the enemies of Israel will think long and hard before attempting aggression of any kind. I applaud the strong statements of support from the Biden White House for Israel in her hour of need. However, the scale of these attacks means that it is likely that Israel will need to wage a sustained military campaign to protect its citizens. Statements of support are fine, but we must follow through with unwavering, resolute, and practical action. America must stand by our ally throughout this operation and beyond as it exercises its sovereign right to self-defense. Gosh. Now, this one, we all already knew that Bobby had like this Zionistic characteristic to him, and I have gone over how I feel about that, and a lot of people feel the same. It's hard to believe that he's on the wrong side of history on this. And if you're on the wrong side of history on this, you can't see what's really going on. That needs to be questioned. And, think about Bobby is even saying that he didn't see the right side of history between the Ukraine and Russia conflict until he went out to dinner with Oliver Stone. So if you're having trouble deciphering, the reality of what's happening on our global geopolitical scale, then one needs to put out there, will you be able to decipher through the bullshit if you were to become somebody with power like a president? Just throwing that out there. Now, there are people that reacted to Bobby's tweet, and let's get into it. This first one's going to be from Scott Ritter. I like RFK Jr. I think he's the best choice for POTUS. He's positioned himself as the peace candidate. And this is the tweet I fear may have sunk his chances. Israel's policy regarding Palestine are indefensible. Bobby should be promoting an equitable peace settlement, not war. So that's from Scott Ritter. Now, this is going to be from Nick Cruz at Revolutionary Blackout. You sound like Nancy Pelosi. This is going to be from Kim Iverson. And there goes my Kennedy vote out the window. So, it's not just me that has this issue with Bobby speaking out like this. This is a terrible take. What are you doing, Bobby? And your border policies, you want to mimic Israel's border policies on that? I know that's off subject, but let's continue, shall we? This is going to be more from Kim. Here's at Robert Kennedy Jr. losing votes as he advocates for Israel to carpet bomb Gaza and continue to create the very situation that provoked the current events. If you lock people into a small area, deny them basics like water and electricity, and bomb them any chance you can, they are bound to retaliate and defend themselves. I am horrified by what is happening on any battlefield. War is ugly. People die. We need to advocate for peaceful resolutions to both Ukraine-Russia conflict and the Israel-Palestinian conflict. The war raging in Israel was 100% provoked and a long time brewing. Like the current Russia-Ukraine conflict, many have been warning of this for a very long time. Israel has been subjugated and torturing an entire group of people for decades. How long did anyone think they could go before rising up to defend themselves? War is horrendous. I am horrified by all who die on both sides of any war. Israel needs to get serious about negotiating a genuine good faith peace agreement with Palestine, or this will happen again and again. So there you have it. There's from Kim Iverson, putting out what's actually going on and pointing out to Bobby, what the hell's going on, Bobby? This is what's actually happening. So let's continue on. Now, it was not only RFK Jr. that had a horrible tweet about this, Bernie Sanders as well. Let's read. I absolutely condemn the horrifying attack on Israel by Hamas and Islamic Jihad. There is no justification for this violence, and innocent people on both sides will suffer hugely because of it. It must end now. Now, this one, I'm not shocked or surprised. Bernie's been showing his true colors for a long time. He does not, he's been stabbing the working man in the back for a while. And even when he was popular back in like 2016 and 2020, he did not have a strong critique of Israel at all. So I am not surprised. Let's get into a reactionary tweet from about Bernie. This is from JB Font. He's a member of RBN. He does great work. Go follow him. You have no room to talk. You're literally sending money, arms, and support to Nazis in Ukraine. Palestinians are literally fighting to take back their land. You only stand with indigenous people on imperialistic conditions. You're a fraud. Very well said, JB Font. Now, let's get into what Cornel said. It's not going to be as crazy as RFK Jr. or Bernie Sanders tweets, okay? But people still had some issues with that. Let's get into it. This is from Cornell. The escalation of the barbaric violence in the Middle East must stop. The vicious Israeli occupation and the ugly Palestinian retaliation results in the killing of precious innocent people on both sides. We must have a lasting peace based on justice. Now, like I said, it's not as bad as RFK or Bernie by any means, but it's not sitting very well with some people, like Nick from RBN. Let's read this tweet, shall we? And this is a tweet responding to Cornell's tweet. Horrific tweet. Every nonviolent action by the Palestinians have been crushed by the Israeli regime. Some states are even passing anti-BDS laws. For those of you who don't know, boycott, divest, and sanction. This is an idea to stop giving, stop buying from Israeli-owned companies. It's an idea to put, pretty much stop giving money to Israel. So yeah, let's continue. Palestinians have every right to resist their genocidal occupier. Both citing these issues and implying Palestinians escalate it is extremely disappointed. So there you have it from Nick. He is saying, when you put out that both sides argument, it undermines the Palestinian plight, which I happen to agree with. Okay, so let's look at another tweet, and this is going to be for Jewish Voice for Peace, speaking in defense of the Palestinians. The Israeli government may have just declared war, but its war on Palestinians started over 75 years ago. Israeli apartheid and occupation and the United States complicity in that oppression are the source of all this violence, and I could not agree more. And so let's finish off these tweets with one last one. I got this tweet from RBN, so thanks you and shout out to RBN. If you're not a follower of them, go watch their work. It's wonderful. They do great work. Now here we have a bar graph that is going to show the total injuries and deaths between the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. So here on the left side, if you look, will be the Palestinians, and on the right side is going to be the Israelis. Do you guys see what I see? Does this look like a even conflict to you? or does this look like one side bullying the other side? So, like I said, don't believe me. Go look it up yourself. There are a lot of different people who did a lot of different work on this issue. So it's disappointing to see Bobby put that out. You know, it just doesn't sit well with me. I know there are a lot of people out there that support him, but this one's big for me, and I have to speak out against it. Bernie, I'm not surprised on Bernie at all. Is anybody? And Cornel, yeah, his tweet was disappointing, but obviously it's nothing compared to RFK Jr. So, for the end of this video, I'm wanting to watch a documentary or a video that Abby Martin put together back in the day where she went to Israel herself and talked to people inside of Israel. And this video is just going to kind of show you, you know, a little bit more insight on what is actually going on. So let's watch.
I think that the Islam is it's a very bad disease, not just for Israel, for all around the world. We can see it. They think they all have to be Islam. If you're not Islam, they will kill you.
A lot of Americans don't really understand what Israel's like. We hear a lot of things in the news. A lot of people are sympathizing with the Palestinian plight. Can you talk about what it's like to kind of live in this situation?
First of all, it's very hard. I'm in an organization. It's called Lahava. It's against the Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Did you say the organization did what again?
The organization is, the thing of it is that Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Shouldn't marry Arabs. Why do you feel strongly about that?
Because Jews is a special nation that God gave it to the Jews, and we don't want Jews to get mixed up with together with a different nation.
I think Israelis have to take over, and they have to kick them away. It will be much better not to kill them, just to go back to Arab countries.
You can't deal with these people. There's no need to try. There's no need to talk to them. What we can do is when they do enough harm, we retaliate. That's war, and that's the situation that any Jew who lives in Israel has to deal with.
יש לך משהו להגיד, היא אומרת ש...
על מה?
גם ככה ערבים, מחשמם.
אוקיי, בסדר בעברית? פשוט מאוד, צריך להיכנס לשטחים, וכל מחבל שעושה פיגוע צריך להרוג אותו, צריך להרוג את המחבלים, ואז הם יפחדו ולא יעשו לנו בעיות, והכל יהיה בסדר. הם יהיו בכפרים שלהם, אנחנו נחיה פה, לא צריך להיות ביחד, והכל בסדר.
I think also that every Arab that doing a terrorism attack, we have to kill him, and not because he's an Arab, because he's a terrorist. I think you should also kick out the family, because it all begins with chinuch. How you say it?
Education.
Whatever they teach the kids does. You know, it's families.
I'm seeing that we need to... איך אומרים לאיש בערבית? כן, תגידי לי את המילה הזאת. נו, תגידי לי מילים, אני לא... אני לא יודעת לתרגם. I don't know how to translate really well.
I think we should give them a country. If you're doing any problem, you just go in there to give them a country, and then it's going to be a war between countries, you know? If they're going to throw rockets, we're going to throw one big one and done.
I don't think there's any answer to it.
Really?
There's only one way, like, I would carpet bomb them.
You would carpet bomb them?
It's the only way you could deal with it. Like, or try to stop them a different way. It never worked.
You mean all Arabs or Gaza or...
I believe that they, like, I hope to believe they're not, but I do think they are, because I don't.
All right, so you get the point that I'm trying to make here. What do we say? here at Charlie Brown Politics, I stand with the Palestinians and their plight. It's very heartbreaking to see RFK Jr. put out tweets like this, but we already knew that obviously with Bernie, we knew that Cornel's tweet was a little bit disappointing. Where do we go from this? This is why I have been trying to reiterate that we can't have faith in these politicians. We cannot be relying upon our answers to be, for our problems to be solved by these politicians from the top down. No, our answers are mutual aid, it's community, it's you and I. Is this more proof that we can't put faith in these people? I don't know. It's just extremely disappointing to see this and heartbreaking. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? What are your thoughts on everybody's comments on it, and what happened? And what are your opinions, guys? Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And I will catch you on the next episode of Charlie Brown Politics. Later, guys.